The United States Supreme Court sounds broadly skeptical of efforts to kick Trump off the ballot over January 6. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back with a new video, and today it is time to talk about the chaos that is unfolding in the United States Supreme Court because we finally heard the arguments of Trump versus Anderson, which, for those that don't know, is the case concerning Trump's ballot access in the state of Colorado over January 6th. Yeah, it finally reached the Supreme Court. We finally had arguments today, and boy, oh boy, was it a disaster for Colorado and Democrats. I mean, when there's even a bunch of Democrats on Twitter saying, yeah, Trump is more than likely going to win this case, not just by 6-3. There's a good chance there's some liberals voting in favor of Trump. It was a disaster for Democrats at the Supreme Court today. Now, before we continue with today's video, I hope you enjoy these type of videos. If you do, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Guys, just for $1 a month, you can join Real American. This is the best way to support the daily content that we all know and love. So I hope and recommend you join the channel today. Now, let's be 100% clear. I don't know everything about law. I'm not claiming to be an expert. I'm not claiming to be a lawyer. None of that. With that being said, I do have a basic understanding of law in America. I do understand the Constitution, and I did, in fact, listen to the arguments at the Supreme Court today. Yes, I sat through and listened to 2 hours of the argument today. And based on what I've heard, and from the reactions from even liberal-leaning lawyers and all of that, it's not sounding too good for Colorado, that they're going to kick Trump off the ballot. Because when you hear what even the liberals were asking, they seemed very skeptical of this theory that Colorado and Democrats were trying to cook up. But enough of that, let's get right into it, because when you hear what these bozos were arguing, you would start to understand why even the liberals were saying, wait a minute, what are you trying to claim? What are you trying to make as your argument? That doesn't make any sense. But let's get right into it. The Supreme Court on Thursday sounded broadly skeptical of efforts to kick former President Trump off the ballot, which they should. In more than 2 hours of arguments, both conservative and liberal justices raised questions. Yeah, so this wasn't like, the liberal justice asked one question and called it a day. No, there was serious questions, and you could tell by the tone of their voices that there's a lot of skepticism to what this guy was arguing. Like, are you sure about that? That doesn't appear to be what the Constitution even says. The primary concern was whether Congress must act before states can invoke a constitutional provision that was adopted after the Civil War to prevent former office holders who engaged in insurrection from holding office again. There also were questions about whether the president is covered by the provision. So they're talking about Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, and you don't have to be a constitutional expert to understand. It doesn't say president. It says senators, congressmen, electors of president, vice president. It doesn't explicitly say the president of the United States. Would you think that the people that made the 14th Amendment would include the presidency if it was part of the provision? Without such congressional legislation, Justice Kagan was among several justices who wanted to know why a single state should decide who gets to be president of the United States. Yeah, Justice Kagan, who I'm not calling a far-right conservative. She's not. She's a liberal. And she's even saying, wait, you're opening a Pandora's box where a state like, say, Colorado could single-handedly decide who's president. It's unlikely Trump would win Colorado, but it's a legitimate argument where if it comes down to the state of Colorado, well, they just decided, Biden is president because they kicked Trump off the ballot. It's unlikely, but there is that possibility where what if Wisconsin did the same thing and it came down to Wisconsin? 8 of the 9 justices suggested that they were open to at least some of the arguments made by Jonathan Mitchell, Trump's lawyer at the Supreme Court. Trump could win his case if the court finds just one of those arguments persuasive. You heard that right. This isn't just the conservatives voting in favor of Trump. No. You have potentially 2 of the liberals saying, hey, this might not be a good idea to kick Trump off the ballot. I mean, if it is true that this is an 8-1 decision, talk about an absolute failure for Dems. It's like when even 2 of your own justices are saying, yeah, this is just wrong. That is just a slap in the face, and would be hilarious if it did happen. And the only justice that doesn't sound like she's going to rule in favor of Trump, or at least has any chance of, is Sotomayor, which, again, should not surprise anyone, but Sotomayor is the only one that sounds like she's going to vote against Trump no matter what. In another sign of trouble for the Colorado voters who sued to remove Trump from the ballot, the justices spent almost no time talking about whether Trump actually engaged in insurrection following the 2020 election, which, yeah, if they don't even talk about that, they could theoretically say an insurrectionist cannot be on the ballot, blah, blah, blah. But if they don't decide if Trump's an insurrectionist or not, is he off the ballot? There are so many problems that Democrats and the people that want Trump off the ballot are facing. Mitchell argued that the Capitol Riot was not an insurrection, and even if it was, Trump did not participate, which I don't consider an insurrection. It's a riot, but I wouldn't say it's an insurrection to overthrow the government and all this crap that Democrats claimed it was. And just like he says, Trump did not participate. He did not tell the people, go burn down the Capitol, go take over the Capitol. He never said that. He said, march peacefully to the Capitol to have your voices heard. The case marks the first time the justices are considering Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, because, let's be real, Section 3 was dealing with the Confederates. It wasn't talking about 150 years later where there's a supposed insurrection. That wasn't the point. It was just, hey, former Confederates, let's not let them be part of government. That's what it was for, not 150 years to disqualify presidential candidates. It sets up precisely the kind of case that the court likes to avoid, but they can't. This is one of those cases where they may not want to make a decision on it, but they have to. They cannot just say, oh, well, we're not going to listen to it. No. This is going to be a landmark case that they have to listen to no matter what. Chief Justice Roberts worried that a ruling against Trump would prompt efforts to disqualify other candidates, and surely some of those will succeed, which I would say he is right. I mean, this opens a Pandora's box that the Supreme Court, even Justice Roberts, who doesn't want to do anything half the time, he understands if they disqualify Trump, or at least rule against him, it opens a Pandora's box of what's stopping other states from doing the exact same thing. Or hell, they even brought up, what if the state of, say, Texas, they didn't say Texas, but they said, what if different states have different interpretations of it? What if the state of Texas disqualifies Biden for the border? It goes both ways, and then it becomes a situation where every state starts to disqualify the other candidates, and then, well, what do you got? A complete mess. That's the many problems with this case. And I'm glad that the Supreme Court, say what you will about them, they're realizing this is insane. They should not even, if this isn't 7-2 at the bare minimum, it would be a joke. It should be 7-2, really 9-0. But you know Sotomayor's going to more than likely go against Trump because it's Sotomayor. Are we gonna kid ourselves that she's gonna become a centrist for once? I doubt it. But you just look more at this case and you realize, yeah, when even Roberts is saying this is just a bad idea. Kagan is saying the same thing. Hell, Jackson had some legitimate points about, the 14th Amendment doesn't even mention the president. So, we gotta see what happens. We don't know when they are gonna make an official decision on this. I'm assuming in the coming weeks. I doubt that they just sit on this for 5 months like they did with overturning Roe. I'm assuming it's be like Bush v. Gore, where it's a day later, or maybe not even a day later, just like a week later. Because this is a big deal where this is for the presidency, and ballot access is becoming a big thing as we get closer to November. Anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, hit that little bell, follow the social media accounts in the description down below, and of course, join the channel today. Thank you so much. Godspeed to all of you.